a spiritual show that isn't.
Hi guys.
So you get information to relax you, give insight into abundance, and imparts divine guidance. Be sure to call in at 888-565-1470. The Halley Élise Show with intuitive mind-spirit mentor Halley Elise is just about to begin. So don't miss even a minute. Now here's Halley Elise.
Welcome everyone. So glad you can join me today. I'm sitting here at the station in the studio playing with the mic today. Usually it's the light system or it's the recording system. Today it's the mic. Never dull, that's for sure. I think I need somebody to handle things. You know how when someone gets into trouble legally and they become a witness and they get taken care of, they have a handler. I think I need a handler, not because I've gotten in trouble, but to keep me out of trouble with electronics and everything. If you're watching live on Facebook, kindly share with anyone who you feel might have an interest. And for the rest of you, anything that's super peaceful, super calming, that has you kind of nodding off, do not drive. It's very important. Today's theme has to do with you standing in your truth. Being able to speak up. It's very interesting because we're raised to be nice to other people, and we are raised, well, let me rephrase that. Most of us are raised to be kind to others, and anyone with a religious background, we're always taught to give to others first and ourselves last. And especially women, not that men aren't as sensitive, but women tend to just naturally take on more responsibility. If there's something going on and they're doing 1,000 things and someone says they need something, they'll say, oh, let me help you, let me get there, let me do. That said, today men are as busy multitasking, especially since COVID. So many people are home trying to manage things, and we still have that need to be able to communicate and to do so in a way that honors ourselves. And yet, how often do we forget? An example is, and this is really funny, someone asks you to go out on a date and you respond with, sorry, I'll be in the yard. And my mind went to that idea of, I guess it was the 50s, where people, women specifically, would say, I'll be washing my hair, meaning, you know, I can't make it. Is something else more important. However, if I say I'm going to be digging in the dirt or in the yard, it really is because for me, it's a necessity to feel grounded, to have those moments of balance that are not always accessible, even when doing meditation, even doing breath work. When I taught over at Nova many, many eons ago, one of the things in the class that we would do on occasion is go outside and locate one of the biggest trees there. And yes, believe it or not, I had the students actually lean against the tree or hug the tree or put their forehead on the tree, because it helps you actually drain what isn't necessary. It helps you feel more grounded. We are natural beings. We don't think of it that often because we are in environments that usually are not natural. You know, concrete, I guess you could say it started out natural, but by the time it was processed, not really. My point simply is we have electronics, we have EMF frequencies, we are surrounded by things that are not of nature. It affects us. And when we come to honoring ourselves and speaking our truth, those things not only affect us, but so do others and how they interact with us. It's so important to listen to our intuition instead of just saying yes. I have this terrible habit, and I'm actually getting better as I get older, of saying yes. Someone says, hey, can you take me to? Yes. Can you help me with? Yes. Can you drive me? Yes. Can I stop by? Yes. And the majority of the time, I'm good with that. There is the occasion, though, that little voice, that intuition pops in and says, well, what are you thinking? You have other things that have precedence. They have to be taken care of. You need to honor yourself. And all of us really need to get to a place where we don't feel guilty if we are saying that we cannot do something. Now, for those who habitually say yes, for instance, the neighbor comes over and they say, oh, can you take me tomorrow morning to my doctor's appointment? It's 8:30 in the morning. And of course you feel bad. It's a neighbor who's unwell. They don't have their own vehicle. You hate for them to have to take an Uber. You usually take them, and yet you planned on sleeping in because you had exhausted your energies during the week. And that little voice, that intuition says, tell them sorry. Can't do it this time, perhaps next time, instead of automatically saying yes. You have to honor yourself. And the same thing is true in dating scenarios. It's really quite amusing. We go online today, we look at a picture, or we read a dialogue that somebody put together because they're selling themselves, right? Well, you can read those things, you can look at the photos, but the truth is that inner knowing, that intuition knows the truth. And if someone says, I want to go out with you, or I want to connect with you, or what have you, because they saw you online or because they liked your picture, you do not have to say yes. Now, I know logic dictates that, obviously, right? You don't have to say yes. Though people tend to think, oh, but I don't want to hurt their feelings, and perhaps I can just go out with them and see. You never know, could make a friend, and all of that is great. Actually, I have a girlfriend who we got together for the first time in, oh my gosh, forever. We had a cup of coffee. We live in a strange world. You get together now as you just have a coffee and you run. But she was saying that she's been online and she's been on a date every night. In mask, of course, sitting 6 feet apart, outside somewhere having a conversation. And the majority of these people, she really doesn't want to spend time with. But in her thinking, well, they seemed nice, so perhaps they should connect. And she goes out and they're pleasant enough, but her gut, that inner knowing, that intuition said, say no. Stand up for yourself. Hold yourself in place for that person that feels right. When you get that warmth, when you get that knowing, when there's that click for you. Give that some thought here for a moment. We have a caller. I'm going to go ahead and chat with her. And if you have any comments on this subject, feel free to call in. If you want a reading, feel free to call in as well. Sabrina, are you there?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so happy to hear you on the air.
Oh, thank you. Did you have a specific question or area of focus?
Just in general this year, just what my year is going to be like. Right now, I'm in a really good space, spiritually, financially. Just want to know, moving forward.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I don't get there being any problems, so this is a good thing right off the bat. This is March. March is going to be an interesting month. I know it's halfway through, but still, it feels as if there are a couple of opportunities that will come up before the end of the month for you. And I'm going to say be really selective about what you decide, because just what we're talking about today, you do not have to say yes in being concerned that perhaps there will not be another offer. There will be. But I get a couple of opportunities coming up again, before the end of this month. Just realize that you have to be your biggest fan, which means you can say no and recognize that there is more to come. The big thing that I keep getting here is you are in business for you. You are a shining star. You have to be the one who just keeps asking for what you want and moving forward. And the fact that you are spiritually grounded is a bonus, because anytime you get derailed, you fall back on that, which supports you and helps you transition and move forward. The other thing is, pardon?
Are these opportunities for work?
Yes, specifically for work. As to when it comes to family, I feel like that's under control. Also, when it comes to relationship, that's an area that you want to give some attention to this year. But it feels to me as if, I'm going to say September, October, November, so fall is really the time period that you want to give the most attention to that. And let me clarify. What I mean is things are going along just fine, and you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. However, your natural rhythm energetically has a predisposition for the fall. And if you want to make any sort of major pivot when it comes to emotionally, when it comes to romance, that is going to be your time where you will see things shift and blossom in ways that you've not seen this year.
Is they're more blossoming for me to do. I've been with my husband for 25 years.
Right, but here's the interesting thing. When you're married for that long, sometimes you forget a couple of things, or you take things for granted, and not because it's intentional, but because you know each other so well.
Yeah.
Keep in mind the fall. And again, if there is something that you want to shift within the relationship, this is that time frame. And I know that there's a couple things that have been in your mind.
Don't we all have a couple of things?
We do, but I don't feel like you've actually verbalized this to your spouse. And again, fall is going to be the right time to be able to say, you know, honey, I would really like to see and be able to communicate and have it heard, and also have that reciprocation. And see, that's the whole thing here. And again, I'm not suggesting that your spouse is not accommodating. That's not the case, because you would not be with your spouse for as long as you have been, because you're too powerful of a person to put up with things if they were bad and always bad. That's not the case. But what I'm getting again is that there's a few things here that I feel would nurture you more, that you really haven't put into the words, that have your spouse listening. And again, fall is that perfect opportunity so that you can hear it and actually see results, but in a very big way. Whereas you could say the same thing right now and it would be heard, but I don't get that follow through. Whereas with the fall, I get that follow through. And speaking of your spouse, there's some shift here as far as financially within, I'm going to say we're what, March, April, May, June. So between now and summertime, there's some pivoting going on there with them and their finances. And the big thing is there's a little bit of nervousness that I feel that comes up. Remind them that they're going to be just fine. This is not about them, it's about what's going on economically and with the company itself, but it is not about them specifically. Okay? And the other thing too is I keep getting a sense of if she's not blood, she feels like blood, a sister, and something major taking place with her as far as medically just around the corner. I feel like you're going to need to be that moral support, that person who is able to say, everything is good, and actually mean it, because I feel like what this is, she's going to move through. Keep that in your head so when it pops up, you don't go into worry. And also so that you can give that verbal and moral support without feeling like, oh, well, I don't really know. Okay?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Here you go. Again, speaking our truth, saying what we need to say. Here's a codicil. I talk about that intuition, listening, because sometimes you need to say something that's really important, but it's a really bad time to say it. You always want to honor yourself, yet it doesn't honor you if you share information that isn't heard in that moment or is really an inappropriate moment. And an example is you are in a relationship and for a number of years you haven't been happy with your partner's, we'll say, romance. Not as far as in the bedroom, but I'm talking in general. So those little things like coming up behind you when you're doing something and rubbing your shoulder or giving you a kiss on the cheek for no reason whatsoever. And you want to discuss it, but you notice that when you discuss it, it always seems to be when your partner has just gotten home from work, because it's on your mind, right? And they're not open to hearing it. Instead of responding with, oh, of course, sweetheart, I could do more of that. It's, why are you talking to me as if I never do anything for you? Look what I have done. Look what I take care of. This is what I'm all about. You should know me by now. See what I mean? Really, timing has to be considered. And that timing can be discerned based by your intuition. Listen. When you need to say something to someone, ask yourself, is this the right time? That inner knowing, that inner voice will be loud and clear. Yes, no. Then again, you can just dive in and create havoc, but that doesn't make much sense, does it? It's much easier to be able to say, I want to communicate these things, and ask yourself, is this the right time? There's also the way that you communicate. Validate that person's feelings. Now, this is in a work situation, this is in a romance situation, this is in a friend situation. You have to be okay with recognizing that their feelings matter. Even if they're not delivering to you what you're expecting them to, understand that they have their own processing. And we're really not identical with the way that we do that. Each person is so different. And a lot of us think, oh, well, they should know that. Like, they know me for a million years. They should know that. Perhaps they know that they've heard it, or perhaps they recognized it before, but not understood that they're accountable or that they're a part of it. We are going to take a quick break. Please give me a call if you want a psychic reading or if you have comments about this topic, about standing in your own power. We'll be right back with the Halley Élise Show. Okay, guys, so let's see if I can take a quick look here. Hi, everybody. I see all sorts of folks. Yay. It's funny, Deborah Landis, I was thinking of you earlier today. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just taking a look here.
Professional speaker and author. Join her and her guests for
you probably can hear the radio, I would think. If you have any questions, if you have any comments that you'd like to make on air, feel free to give a call. It's 888-565-1470.
Remember, Mind-Spirit Mentor Halley Elise, WWNN, Saturdays, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Go to HalleyElise.com to schedule your personal session or book Halley for your next speaking engagement.
We're almost back
to
on.
the Halley Élise Show with your host, intuitive mind-spirit mentor, Halley Elise.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're talking about standing in your own power, honoring yourself, but also not just blurting things out, being able to listen to that inner knowing, your intuition, that guidance that says this is the right time. I'm sure many people have thought, oh, I need to say something to someone, and, well, they can't seem to find the right time. Don't think of it in terms of time. Again, ask within. Ask yourself, is this the right time? Or is this the right time when Susie gets home for me to tell her about? Or is this the right time when Johnny gets home for me to tell them about? Or is this the right time to tell Mr. Smith that his dog has been creating havoc in my front lawn or not? And I know that sounds like something so simple, because obviously if your neighbor's dog is creating havoc in your front yard, you should be able to say something immediately, right? Well, give a moment and go within. And the reason I say this is because you don't know what that person is going through. Perhaps if your neighbor has been your neighbor for a really long time and they've always taken care of their dog, but all of a sudden the past couple of weeks they're letting their dog do whatever they want in your yard, maybe something's going on with them. Maybe if you ask within, what you'll hear is, they're having a hard time with their health. Perhaps I can help them. Perhaps I can offer to take the dog out. And I know that might be like, yeah, but I don't want to have to do that. I don't have to clean up after somebody else's dog. They should know better. But again, at times it's not a matter of what you think they should do or shouldn't do, but taking a look beyond that. The truth of the matter is we are all interconnected. Every religion, every culture talks about this, about how there are bonds that put us together. And we have the opportunity to raise our planet's consciousness. We have the opportunity to make things nicer for each other. I'm not saying don't be selfish at times where it's just about you, because really the whole topic of speaking your truth and standing in your power is about you. Though there are many ways to get to an end point. We think about life's journey and traveling along that road and all the things that come up, and so often there are things that we just knock our head against the wall and think, oh, why am I dealing with this? What is this nonsense? And you wonder, why? What did I do? I'm a good person. I shouldn't have to deal with this. But again, in that moment, are you honoring yourself? Are you honoring your truth? Are you finding that you're getting upset over things that you really shouldn't? Because if that's the case, then you're not invoking your good. when we are born into this world, we are given gifts, so many gifts. And unless somebody tells us, most of the time we go, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. But the truth is, with positivity, with being constructive, with acknowledging our neighbor, with listening to ourselves, to our intuition, to our own guidance system, we can not only make our lives amazing, but also help others. It's not as complicated as we often make it. And a real great example is you have individuals who get politically motivated for one side or another. And I'm not getting in the middle of anybody's conversation with that. I'm simply going to say that the people that we're listening to that we don't like, that we don't care for, we can talk about how awful they are, and we can send them bad juju and hope they fall off the planet. Or we can recognize that for whatever reason, they are not in alignment with us. And perhaps that's because they're supposed to learn something from this. Perhaps what they're doing and the way they're doing it, the way they're seeing it, the way their beliefs are they're serving them at a deeper level. And again, we don't typically think about this. We typically think in terms of politics of it's good or it's bad. We like the candidate or we don't. We appreciate what they're doing or they're not. But it's really important to take a look at if all things, relatively speaking, are equal, then there must be something there. Now, we can choose not to see it. We can choose not to be nice. We can choose to let them do what they want to do and defame them, and that's okay. You're an individual. You can do as you choose. I'm simply saying that if you want more peace and gratitude in your world, if you would like to see consciousness raised on the planet, and I mean overall, it's a matter of races and religions and politics and regions, and we know that a very small percent of the population runs the world. A lot of people say it's 5%. I think it's really truly closer to 3%. And within that 3%, only 1% of our population rules the world as far as financially, runs all the money, all the systems. Now, if we don't know enough about money to be in that top 3%, that top 1%, what is it that we can do? We can raise our vibration. We can shift our frequency so that what we're putting out into the world is more pure, is more elevated, is more inspiring. If we do those things, then we inevitably attract more of those types of people to us. And if we are working together in a group mentality, not because we have to officially make a statement about it, but we're doing it because we are in alignment, then overall our energy supersedes anything that somebody would throw at us that is in a negative way. Something to think about. So yes, stand in your power. Tell your truth. Speak up when you need to. Let's look at bullying. It's awful. There are all sorts of programs for children and all sorts of teachers and organizations. Actually, there's a gal that I know that I've had on the air before who is amazing, who talks about this, who teaches how to not be bullied, how to recognize when somebody's bullying, how to fix this. If we were to empower our children at a higher level, really and truly my belief is we would not have the level of bullying that we have. Think about it. We know that when somebody bullies, it's because there is a lack within them. They bully because on some level they're not feeling recognized or important or instrumental in their own world. And oftentimes it's small children, but we don't know what's going on in their home. All we're seeing is the end result. Again, this takes me full circle, which is if we empower our children from very young ages, teach them to meditate, teach them to be self-aware, teach them to stand in their power, though do it with kindness, things would be very different. There are countries that, and specifically in Asia, that don't really teach children schoolwork for the first couple of years. They teach them about how to go within. They teach them about socializing. They teach them about etiquette and communication. What if all the countries did that? But what if they did it for more than just a couple of years? What if every single country on the planet really worked towards raising that consciousness, being kinder? Overall, it would make a massive difference. And listen, we're here on the planet to learn and to grow, and I'm not going to get all woo-woo on you, though I will say we do actually learn from our experiences. If you look at psychology, even for a little bit, and I'm not a pop psychologist by any means, you can recognize that there is always a secondary gain to something that is in your life that appears to be causing you strife. And if you're thinking, wait, that's totally off base. You're saying be in my power, and then you're saying, that strife is okay, and it's a contradiction. It's not. It's a matter of recognizing that no matter what is taking place in our life, it has value. It's a matter of recognizing that we can speak our truth and stand in our power. We can also embrace what is taking place. Understand that the good and the bad is all a part of what we're experiencing. Now, nobody likes the bad stuff. I mean, honestly, when I have a bad day, when something goes awry, I'll be the first one in my own head to go, well, this is really poo. But I'll go do something about it. Meaning I'll go do something to shift where my mind is. And sometimes it's easier than others, I'll be candid. Though when I do breath work and I do meditation and I do visualization and I listen to high frequency music and I dance and I sing and I play, if those things haven't worked, I go in the yard. I go back to the trees. I go back to the plants, because really and truly, that's where I feel the most grounded. Now, it's different for everyone. Some people prefer the ocean and the sand. Some people prefer the mountains. I love the earth. I like the ocean too, but I love the earth. I can play outside for hours and completely forget what time it is. I'm not so good with time anyways. But feel invigorated afterwards instead of exhausted. That says something, right? If you do something for an extended period of time and you exert a lot of energy, but you're not exhausted, that says something. I'm going to leave you with this thought, and that is, you can speak up whenever you deem necessary, but before the words come out of your mouth, take just a moment to go within and ask that inner knowing, that intuition, is this the right time? And what do I need to say? If you do that, you'll find that your interactions are a lot easier, a lot more peaceful. Thanks so much for tuning in today, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll connect next week. Bye-bye for now.